And welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of the TV show. And oh my God, we have so much to get to. Scandal on this week's episode, but not scandal involving the lovely Rhea Hughes, who joins me, and the wonderful Angelo Cataldi, back from a vacation that he was thrilled to be at. Um, so, guys, I want to start right in with this, and I'm going to start with you, Rhea, because
Yes.
I feel like, this is something that we've talked about before when it comes to connections with people. I don't know if you saw this, Olivia Nuzzi, and I think that's how you pronounce her name. Um, I listen, as a woman, I understand. RFK Jr. is irresistible, right? I mean, there's no way you look at that craggly face and you say, I need to have it.
Wow.
As a
Yes.
woman, you understand that. But
Totally understand.
she is wrapped up in this controversy because she had an affair with RFK Jr. Might have just been a sexting affair, but either way, very scandalous kind of thing. It comes at the same time that we're getting a Vince McMahon documentary dropping on Netflix called Mr. McMahon. Now, I've always thought Vince McMahon was the world's biggest scumbag, but here's why I think these two things are linked. And I want to start with Yuri, if you agree with me. It seems like Angelo has always said that TV reveals who you are. You can't escape the camera. If you're a scuzz bucket, you seem like a scuzz bucket. RFK Jr. has seemed like a scuzz bucket for 20 years. Vince McMahon is scuzz bucket for 30 years. How come we're surprised? 50 years? 50 years, Angela. How come we're surprised at this? Do you find this surprising at all?
Well, because 90% of the time they are like, listen, I'm not a wrestling person, but I've always just found Vince McMahon to be just, yeah, I kind of need a shower. Give you the guy who ran one of the biggest, in your words, scuzz bucket shows of all time. But Angela and I met him, and he turned out to be an actual delight. His name was Jerry Springer. Do you
Mm,
remember the Jerry Springer show? At its
right.
height, it had 8 million people per episode. I mean, I went back on to read some of the episodes. I can't. I mean, I know we're not a family show and we're a podcast. I can't even read the titles of some of the shows that he had. We had him in, Ange, I want to say once or twice. An absolutely lovely, lovely person. Do you remember him, Ange?
Very much so. In fact, Keith Jones, the current president of the Flyers, references him all the time because
Yeah,
he was there that day. And we couldn't believe it. Now, he had been the mayor of
yeah,
Cincinnati. He had a serious life prior to
yeah.
the Jerry Springer show, but he was so different than the guy on TV.
Mm.
And you said, you know what I came away thinking? That man is a great actor. You know,
Yes.
he ended up, people may not remember this, he was the host of America's Got Talent the first
Yeah,
couple of years and showed more of that persona than he did of that show, that sleazy, crazy show, which
yeah,
he made fun of. But he
yeah.
was, Via, you're 100% right. Here's the thing about Vince McMahon, though. It drops the day we're doing this. I haven't seen it yet. I love, this is why I love a documentary when they pick a scuzz bucket
Yes.
and they tell you all the horrible things they
Mhm.
did. Jay, that's what makes an exciting documentary. I can't wait to see it.
I'm thrilled to see this, but for the reason you said, because you get a window into a real sleazeball. And you know it's going to be a good documentary when somebody releases a statement ahead of the documentary saying they had the opportunity to show the truth, but they chose to show only the bad stuff. It's like,
Right.
yeah, we know what's coming next, pal.
Yeah.
Now, and here's the one. I hope people don't. This is not really political. Does every male member of the Kennedy family, have to be a total horn dog? Every
Yeah.
single one? Is it
Yeah.
one that is not that way? They all have to chase every skirt. Is that the way that works, Jay?
I listen, here's the thing that I think is hilarious about that. He said that she aggressively pursued him
Yeah.
and sent increasingly more explicit text messages to the point where he couldn't resist. It was
Oh,
like
please.
poor Kennedy. He was like, "Oh, what can I do?" He was like one of those cartoon wolves that smelled a pie. He was
Right.
just floating along the thing. He couldn't stop himself. Come on, you
I
just
have a
turn the phone
very
off.
funny Ted Kennedy story to tell real quick, and we know all the things with him with Chappaquiddick. My dad, passed away this summer, was a real gentleman. I mean, just a real low key kind of guy. When I was in college, my professor invited Ted Kennedy to speak to our class. And I'm sitting at dinner telling my parents, and Chuck looks at me and goes, I want you to do one thing. And I said, what? He goes, raise your hand and call him the Midnight Channel Swimmer. My mother was,
Oh,
I'm looking up going, that's how mad the Kennedys made my dad. So,
wow.
he wanted me to
Right.
get kicked out of college.
And one other thing, Jay, I want to mention, Rhea picked the best one, Jerry Springer, as somebody who was not who he appeared on TV. I'll give you one more because I want to plug the Wing Bowl documentary that's gotten a lot of publicity the past week, but is not yet sold. We don't know where it's going to show or if it's going to end up being on like a Netflix or Showtime or something like that. But in this the Wing Bowl documentary, one year we brought in the bad girl of Jersey Shore,
Oh,
Snooki Polizzi.
Oh, right,
yes.
right.
And I'm going to tell you, Rhea, I think, dealt with her even more than I did that day. One of the nicest people we ever done. We
It really
asked
was.
her to ride in front of 20,000 people, a mechanical bull, Jack.
Wow.
And she readily agreed to do it. And
Sure.
in this documentary that is finished, I've seen it. It's going to be so great. But she is seen in the documentary riding the mechanical bull. She was very nice. She was not what she appeared in that reality show. That's all I got. We have two people who turned out to be nice that we didn't think were.
Yeah.
My guess is the situation was probably just what he appeared, though. That would be my guess about that show.
Probably so.
All right, Angelo, I want to talk about one of the best ads I've seen for a movie, which is this new movie for Megalopolis. It's the new Francis Ford Coppola movie. And what they did was they just showed outtakes or quotes from past reviews of Francis Ford Coppola's movies, saying things like, its artiness, it's diminished by its artiness, or it's complicated, and he gets ahead of himself. It's not very good. But about great movies, things like The Godfather, The Conversation, Apocalypse Now, basically saying like, hey, they didn't get it back then, but people eventually got it, and Megalopolis is going to be the same way. So if you see a bad review, don't be worried. They just don't get it. Except there's one problem with this. All of the quotes were made up. They were not real reviews about Francis Ford Coppola's movies. Now, the company Lionsgate that's releasing the movie has said, we didn't know they were going to do this. I put a big yeah right to that. They fired the company that made the trailer. Do you find this, Angelo, because you can go either way on this, is this scumbucket material, or is this a bit of brilliant marketing on the hands of Lionsgate?
Look, it's marketing, so it doesn't. Most marketing is not that honest, so that doesn't bother me. What bothers me, I watched the trailer. I watched several of their trailers, and it is visually spectacular, as you would expect from Francis Ford Coppola. But so I'm at that point, I'm going, you know what? I don't like Adam Driver. I hate him, in fact. But I'm going to let that go, and I think I'll watch this film because it's only 2 hours and 18 minutes, which
Not
really,
terrible.
these ego trip films like the ones that Kevin Costner is making, Horizon,
Right.
these movies normally go 3 some hours and stink, right? But before I ever got a chance to make my plans the way you did, Jay, to go to the movie theater, I read a couple of reviews of this thing. This is they don't have to make up reviews that seem negative. What's being said about this is that it is the biggest mess they have ever seen. That it is basically, Francis Ford Coppola took all the money he made and all those great movies, threw it all on the screen, and it came out to be like an awful mess of a film that I have no desire anymore to see. So I've talked my way out of it before I even talked my way into it.
Rhea,
I'm not offended by the lies because that's what marketing is. But I am offended by these guys that were great filmmakers, and I'm including Kevin Costner in that suddenly think everything they touches turns to gold, and they're willing to risk everything for it. This does look awful. I'm looking forward to, you're going to go see it, right?
Not only am I going to go see it, I'm going with my 17-year-old son and
Oh,
13-year-old daughter, who are
wow.
both very intrigued at the idea that someone would spend $120 million on what could possibly be an incoherent slop of a movie.
Yeah.
So we're either going to come back going, it's
Kids.
brilliant, or
Yep.
it's a mess. Rhea, are you there day one? Did this work on
Uh,
you?
yeah, no. Well, see, I am offended by the fake reviews because I don't know if you're aware of this, you two. We do a review show.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that people kind of rely on it. I know I rely on stuff. Like if I'm sometimes looking around to look at something, I'll go on Rotten Tomatoes, and if it's like anything like below 60, I'm like, but it depends. If the audience rates it higher, I'll go with the audience because sometimes, I'll disagree with the critics. But if they're both generally, between 40 and 60%, I'm like, this kind of sucks. I found the quote from Coppola on this when they asked him about it. He goes, I'm the one who said there were bad reviews, but I don't know. It was a mistake, an accident. I'm not sure what happened. I'm like, oh, dude, please. But I
Please.
mean, I'm just saying I rely on reviews. And so I think that's there's marketing and then there's just lying. And I think that's lying and I don't like it.
Well, I will let you guys know next week with my epic review of Megalopolis. Maybe I'll record the 13-year-old's opinion on this. All right, Rhea, I need your help on something
Yes.
because
Yes.
Netflix released its semi-annual data dump where they talk
Okay.
about all the shows that are doing well on Netflix. And they didn't used to do this. And even now, it's a little obscured more than I'd like it to be. But the thing that stuck out to me was how many shows in the top 10 were produced in England. And I got to
Yes.
say, as a patriotic American, I am
Yep.
very offended at this. We invented Hollywood. We invented exporting our culture to the world. As our British expert, can you tell me what's happening? Why are people so enamored of these movies and TV
Well,
shows?
here's where I think it's a combination of several things, but I think it ultimately comes back to the fact that in the UK there really isn't syndication, and in the US, we live on syndication. So shows have to, you got to get to that 100 episode mark so you can be syndicated. Well, they don't have that problem in England. So when they do shows, they're generally done for very short seasons, 4 to 6 seasons tops. Um, you know, maybe 6 episodes at a time. The writers' rooms are smaller. There's not as many chefs in the kitchen. And there's two other things that I think are real key to why British shows are good and people like them. It's the actors. The actors in England that they use, they are not supermodels pretending to be this there's a great episode of Two and a Half Men, and I can't believe I'm quoting Two and a Half Men in this, but Alan's bimbo wife, who turned out to be his ex-wife eventually, is, she's an actress and she gets a job on a detective show where she's the medical examiner. And they have a scene where her boobs are spilling out as she's looking over a dead body. They were making fun of
Right.
how, so the people and they generally are hustling because they're not on shows like Friends that are doing a million episodes a season. They're making $100,000 an episode. They're doing 6 episodes in one season. You will see some of the same actors in several shows during the year because they're hustling. They're actually trained. If you go into a bio of most English actors, they are formally trained in acting. And then there's one last thing which I think Hollywood has to, and I understand it's money involved. A lot of British shows, New Zealand shows, Australian shows, they basically should get fees from all the countries who are marketing
Yeah.
because they film on location.
Yeah.
So you see these stunningly beautiful locations while you're watching shows. So I think it's just it's a bunch of things, but I think it really comes back to Ted Lasso is an American show, but it was filmed in the UK, but it was filmed on their basis. The Office UK ran 2 seasons. The one in America ran 9 seasons, and people complained the last couple seasons were terrible. So those are the reasons why I think you're getting just a better product.
I think that's perfectly stated. Angelo, you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I certainly do. A couple of things. First of all, I agree with everything Rhea said, but I always do when it comes to British television. Rhea really knows her stuff on that. But first of all, I'm not offended when another country is better at something than we are.
Right.
Jay, you have this just a tunnel vision. We have to be, if you're America, you have to be better at everything. No, I don't mind that and the English are better at it. And I think they're better at it because they're really, really good at storytelling. And they don't milk a story for 12 episodes when it really requires 5. They know how to tell a story, and they're not nearly as reliant on all the smoke and mirrors, all the CGI, all the junk that we throw into these things to make them more than they need to be. The basis of every good TV show and movie is a good story. I know this because I'm speaking to a screenwriter, Mr. Jay Black. If the story isn't good, all that other stuff doesn't matter. And in England, they're very good at telling stories.
I would agree. And Rhea, I think the thing that you said that I agree with the most is they've been training for this streaming model since they started doing TV in the 50s, right? Short seasons, fewer episodes, be done when the story's done. I think that works. Now, somebody who's not done, and in fact won't be done for till 2030, and maybe even extending past that. I mean, we live in a world where he could go to 2045, Angelo, is one of your favorite broadcasters, a guy that you've extolled the virtues of many times. Chris Collinsworth was just re-signed at NBC through 2030. He's going to be making 20 million plus a year. Angelo, I just want to get out of the way. In basketball, clear the paint. Just let Angelo talk about this. How do you feel about Chris Collinsworth, Angelo?
Well, let me start, allude to what you said at the beginning of the show. I was away this past weekend in New Orleans, where it is the hottest city that I've ever been in my life. It was over 100 degrees heated every single day. It was torturously hot there. And that is where I learned that Chris Collinsworth is getting this 4-year extension that will take him through the year 2030 and will guarantee that he's doing the next 2 Super Bowls on NBC. At 2030, he will be 71 years old, and I can assure you, every bit as annoying as he is now. And here's the thing, and I'm trying to process this as I prepare myself for Sunday's Eagles game, the first game that Tom Brady will be doing on the Eagles. He's doing Eagles at Tampa, 1 o'clock on Fox. Tom Brady is horrible at analysis. He sounds like a kid trying to learn on the job while receiving $300+ million. He's bad. And the reason Collinsworth got this extension is because he has lowered the bar for every other analyst in every other sport. Collinsworth, of all the different analysts, Troy Aikman and Greg Olson before, and who we got, Jason Garrett, all of the worst rated by the people themselves is Collinsworth. Collinsworth encourages more people to use the mute button than any other analyst in any other sport. And he is now being rewarded with the 2nd biggest broadcast contract after Tom Brady. Why? Based on what? Jay, you're listening to this too, aren't you?
Yeah.
Jay, you're listening to this, right? Is this any good at all?
No.
Rhea, what do you think?
So listen, I'll never forgive him for flat out ruining the Super Bowl. He got every replay, every review wrong. It's impossible when I go back, because I saved it and watch, when I want to remember what it was like to win the 1 Super Bowl the Eagles won, I have to mute it because he's so awful to listen to. But, what I will say about Tom Brady, and this is where Angelo and I disagree on stuff. The voice thing is going to be a problem. Again, smoke a pack of cigarettes. I'm just kidding. Maybe a blunt or something like that. The voice is going to be a problem. I think he's incrementally does not equal a $300 million salary. When he was talking about how the Cowboys could get back in the game and the Cowboys committed yet another penalty. He goes, "Oh my God." Like, you don't a lot of times hear analysts say that. So I kind of went, all right, if he's going to do that, but here's where he's going to run into trouble. Eagles fans are so insane. They will be listening to They'll be like, does he got a Tampa Bay bias? There's always going to be that. Here's what I will just recommend. And Angelo, you had done this years ago. I just did it this year for the first time because I have I'm total streaming in my house, so I know how to marry up. I, for the first 3 weeks of the season, have married up my Alexa with Merrill and Mike on my station, Sports Radio 94 WIP, with the TV, which is easy to do. You'll pause it a couple times till they meet. I listen exclusively to Merrill and Mike, and it's a better product.
Well, Rhea, I didn't do that this year yet. I may yet, but when I do that, it really upsets my dog Bentley, who he runs out of the room, and I don't have any friends. So, I'm watching the game alone. So the last few weeks, I have abstained from using Merrill Reese and the radio to keep the dog in the room with me, so I wouldn't be alone.
It's got to be the face.
Merrill upsetting your dog?
But I don't know what it is. Things like that. He hates Alexa. Oh my God.
Oh, it's Alexa. Yeah.
I don't know. It's something about it being automatic, or he doesn't like technology any more than his master does.
Yes, this is true.
Well, I'll tell you what. Give me your opinion on Chris Collinsworth in the replies to this. You can click right on the send us a fan mail. Let us know what you think, because if you agree with Angelo, I tend to agree with Angelo on this. I just have to wonder if the talent of being able to say something in the 30 seconds while a replay is going on is such a particular talent that only 4 or 5 guys can do it.
It's not.
It's hollow platitudes. Listen just to his work. Some game. Tune out everything else, but listen to what he has to say. And at the end of it, get rid of all sharp objects, because you're going to want to punch yourself with a sharp pencil.
Actually,
I'll give you a name, and Angelo, I know you won't disagree with me, and he's getting more work. A guy who's a really good analyst is Ross Tucker.
Oh, the best.
He's trained himself. He's put in the work. He does. I mean, you listen to him do color on a game, and you learn stuff. You really do.
Rhea, if you just listen to him do a game and Collinsworth do a game, and ignored everything else, but the way they spoke and the way they act, you would understand that quality is not significant to these networks, because Ross is awesome at it, and Collinsworth is awful, and Brady somehow is worse. It's worse than Collinsworth. He's worse.
I just gotta say, when I was in college, I did college radio, and they did not have anybody covering women's sports at the time.
Yeah.
So they forced us to go out and cover the sports, which was fine for basketball or whatever, but they wanted us to cover women's field hockey. And none of us would do it. I finally said, I'll do color for women's field hockey. And looking back on it, I didn't know the rules, and I didn't understand the sport anyway. Still did a pretty good job looking back on it. I just said things like, wow, she hit that pretty hard right there. So yeah, maybe it isn't as tough as I think it is.
Okay, I also covered field hockey for Temple News, so we have that in common.
There we go. One other thing we have in common is a shared love of our sponsor, Mr. Steven Singer. Angelo, you work with this guy for years.
I can tie this right in. All right, Ross Tucker is the kind of guy Steven Singer would buy time with. Chris Collinsworth is not, because Ross Tucker is an honest person. And I've been saying to you for weeks, Steven Singer, the thing about him is he's a jeweler, but he's really honest about what you're buying, right? One time, long time ago, he was a loyal advertiser on our show for many, many years. And I found out he was also advertising on Howard Stern.
Oh, wow.
And I asked, nothing wrong with that. Howard Stern had the best numbers in the world at radio for many years. And I went, Steven, you and Stern and me, why is that? We're not exactly, clones. And he goes, you're both honest. The thing that makes you good at your job is you give your honest opinion. And if people don't like it, they don't like it. He said, that's what I respect in my business, honesty. And Rhea knows that. That's his priority. That's why when you're buying something, what he tells you it is, that's what it is.
That's lovely.
And go on to I Hate Steven Singer. I was just on there right before we came on. You go into their trending site. They have some beautiful stuff in there. It will not break the bank. There's a little a circle with a heart diamond in it that I'm going to tell somebody that I really want because it's really cute and it's only $148 and I love it. So
Yeah.
go check it out.
And that's go to IHateStevenSinger.com. The
and-
link is right in our description. You can send us fan mail and click on Steven Singer. And Angelo, I'll say I have something in common with Steven Singer. I appeared on your show for a number of years, and I used to write for Howard Stern back in the day. So
There you go.
I used to,
There you go.
yeah. So
Right?
it's many connections all over the place here. So Rhea, let's hop into British TV. I know we
Yeah.
just did a big talk about
Yeah.
British TV, but what do you got for us this week?
So this is interesting because this is one of my international shows. But you guys all know the main star, and I'm not sure if it's Jean or Jean Reno. Do you remember The Professional with Natalie Portman?
Yes, love that movie.
And he played the assassin guy, kind of helps her, which I've always just adored that movie. Their relationship was so great. So I'm flipping around, and this is on Amazon Prime. I know we had discussed Acorn and BritBox. Amazon Prime picked this up. It's a 2013 detective show starring Jean Reno from 2013. Only one season. He plays a detective, but it's based in France, which I believe he is French.
Mhm.
That's his accent. It took a little while. I will say the only reason I kept watching it, and I believe there's 8 episodes. I'm on episode 6. It started real slow for me, and each episode is a standalone mystery, murder, whatever. It's real, and I only kept watching it because of him, because he's just got a presence, even though he's much older in the show. He just has a presence about him
Yeah.
that as a movie actor, that's what draws you into shows. Here's the crazy thing about this. I've never seen it. When I saw it, I assumed it was going to be French with subtitles. It's filmed in France. Paris looks absolutely beautiful. Again, the European shows film on location. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the Eiffel Tower, Notre Dame, you got all that. They have English actors using American accents. So it's like Jean is the French detective and all the people working with him. And it's odd. I mean, it took like 2 or 3 episodes. I'm going, are they trying to be American, but they're in France? So that was kind of weird. But I will just say, by the time I got to episode 4, I had really liked all the characters around it. The mysteries are pretty good. They're different. The one I watched, episode 6 that I watched yesterday, was totally different than any mystery I'd ever seen, and I was fascinated by it. Unfortunately, it didn't get enough ratings, so it only lasted 1 season. But I think it's worth your watch. Stick with it through 2 episodes. But Jean Reno has a definite presence that'll make you want
What's
to
the
watch.
name of the show?
It's called Joe, J-O.
Joe.
Joe.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Very nice. Easy to
Very simple.
remember as well. And did you watch anything with Clark this week?
Well, I kind of watched something with Clark. So Sunday morning before the Eagles game, I'm in the kitchen. I was making brownies. Angelo knows I'm a baker, so I was making brownies. He's in the living room watching a show. And I mean, he was laughing hysterically. So I finally stopped. I went in. I go, "What are you watching?" And Jay, I'm sure you watched it. The interview with
Yeah,
with
great.
Franco.
James Franco and Seth
Jim-
Rogen and the guy who played Asian Jim in The Office, whose name is escaping me.
He's Kim Jong-young. So
Yep.
basically, they play like they had this TV show, and they get an interview with Kim Jong-young, and the CIA finds out, and they want him to kill him. But it turns out the James Franco character has a love of Katy Perry with Kim Jong-young, and they're like buds. But I mean, I will tell, and it didn't get great ratings on, and it's available on everything. You can get it on YouTube, Tubi, Amazon Prime. I will just tell you, I have not heard my son giggle like that for 2 hours during a movie. He's 15. And I read reviews. Reviews were kind of up and down. Some said that Seth Rogen and Franco nailed it because it was satire.
Right.
So did you see it?
I did see it. I will
Yeah.
say there's a great audio documentary you can get online. It's for free. It's on the Big Picture feed. It came out in August about how that movie caused the Sony hack that happened 10 years ago where all the emails were released. It was because Korea was very upset about this movie. And it was just so hilarious that this kind of dumb movie about, you know, a stoner comedy caused an international issue like this. So not only is it funny, it's also historical in its own way.
Well, highly recommend it. You can get it on pretty much any streamer.
Very nice. And Angelo, what'd you watch this week? Did you watch the suggestion that came in? Did you watch a cartoon, Angelo?
No, I was in New Orleans.
That's right.
Give me a little time on that. I'm working on it, and it is a cartoon, and I will hopefully have it ready for you next week. But I'm here today to sing the praises of an underrated actress who is just brilliant in a new show. And I think this may be, it's like the second time in the 2 years we've done this podcast. It is a network television show.
Wow.
On Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. ABC. And it is called High Potential. And
I'm dying to see it. I'm dying to see it.
Rhea, it is worthy of all the detective shows you watch from the British ones. Caitlin Olsen is
I love her.
Caitlin Olsen is so great and is really not yet. I think this show will make her a household name. For example, she's on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. She plays a dumb slut. All right. She is on Hacks. She plays the mom of a Joan Rivers type superstar comic. Right. And she's great in that. And in this, she is a genius, 160 IQ cleaning lady. And she kind of figures out crimes the way. Look, it's a ripoff of Lisbeth, right? The one
which I love. I love that.
This is better because Caitlin Olsen is so great as that character. So I am thrilled to be able to tell you. I do it with setting the old VCR, whatever they call it now. I set it Tuesday at 10, High Potential, starring Caitlin Olsen. It is a breakout role, and she is awesome in it. And while you're at it, check out her other work because it's great. Everything she does is great.
She is great. Angelo breaks out his Betamax every week and records it. I love Caitlin Olsen.
DVR, Angelo. It's called DVR.
Okay, what do I call it? VC.
One of the things I love about Caitlin Olsen is all that slutty stuff she does on It's Always Sunny. Her husband is the show creator, Rob McElhenney. So it's just it's funny to me. So Angela, I'm excited to be able to give another female-led show that is fantastic, that I have a high recommend. I don't know if this is going to be up your alley, Angelo. Rhea, I don't know where you stand on witches, but this is a very witchy show.
I am one. I've been called one. Angelo usually calls me it with the B instead of the W.
Well, this stars Catherine Hahn in her role as Agatha Harkness. It's a sequel to WandaVision. Now, it's a Marvel set TV show without any superheroes so far. It's only witches. Aubrey Plaza plays her, I want to say, nemesis in this, but it's obvious that they have had some sort of relationship, possibly sexual, in the past. If that does something for you, it does something for me. Might be worth checking out. I love Aubrey Plaza and everything that she does. Catherine Hahn is playing a pitch perfect version of this character where she is depowered, but also the most powerful person in the room. And the whole story is about putting together a coven and getting their power back. And I give it the highest recommend. 2 episodes are out on Disney Plus. Third one should be dropping today, so you should be able to watch 3. Watch it and tell me you're not hooked. My wife watched it and was hooked, and she usually does not like anything I recommend. It's great.
All right, let me review what we've done. We got a lot of stuff this week. Now available on Netflix, Mr. McMahon documentary. I think it's 6 parts. Should be really good. The Wing Bowl documentary has been finished. Stay tuned for more information in the immediate future. It's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen, but then I am in it, and I am all right.
Am I in it at all, Ange?
What's that, Rhea?
Am I in it at all?
Yes, but you are not mangled or hurt in it. All right, but you are seen in it, and like you are on this show, you look amazing. All right. Megalopolis will be in theaters this weekend. Go, but beware. It might stink. All right. All of these British shows we've been talking about are available on BritBox. You can get it through Amazon the way Rhea does or whatever. You want to see Tom Brady this weekend do an Eagles game? He's going to do it. 1 o'clock on Fox Sunday, Eagles at Tampa. Also, we've got The Interview is the teen show. You can see it on Prime or Apple Plus. That is a movie. Joe is on Amazon Prime. That is our Brit Pick of the Week. And I am strongly recommending you check out High Potential Tuesdays at 10 on ABC. Jay is saying check out Agatha All Along on Disney Plus.
And a couple other things before we go. Check out Angelo, Cataldi.com or Amazon.com to buy his book, Loud. Also, if you're near an Apple TV or an Amazon TV or anything like that, there's a new movie out called Tenants. I produced it. I didn't write this one. My company produced it. It is a horror movie written and directed by a guy named Buzz Wallach. It is scary as heck, and you can get it $9.99. You can buy it $9.99, cheap.
Wow.
Apple TV, look it up. Tenants, Tenants, not tennis the game. Tenants like somebody that you hang out in your house at an apartment building.
Jay, one other thing. If people would like to read a diary of my trip to New Orleans, the good and the bad, it is available at angelocataldi.com, and you could check it out and tell me what you think, because I went to New Orleans, and I ain't going back.
Also, check out our sponsor, Steven Singer at IHateStevenSinger.com, and come back next week. We're going to review so much stuff. You're going to have to listen to all of it. Guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.